I always try to be smooth when I'm like letting the music down. Anyway, what up, gang? Happy Easter. This is a Cup of Joe episode number 18. Hope you guys are doing super well. Happy Sunday. I have a question to start this episode off, just to see what you guys are up to. But I'm curious, what's the number one thing you're grateful for as of today, considering the fact that this is a special edition of Cup of Joe on the Easter Sunday? What is it that you are grateful for as of today? Leave it in the comment section. My guest for today actually just popped on. What's up, Jonathan? I see you. About to pull you in a second, but he's a visual storyteller. His name is Jonathan Belle, and I'm really excited about this conversation because I found him on TikTok, and we really haven't had much opportunity to engage. And I'm really curious to just hear how he got started, and I really love his work and his content. So, getting ready to pull him in, but I wanted to get you guys to check him out on Instagram and on TikTok. His name is Jonathan Belle, and this screen that you guys are seeing on your end is his Instagram profile, but I couldn't really pull him up on TikTok. So anyway, I'm getting ready to bring him on, and we're about to jam out. So if you have any questions over photography, visual storytelling, make sure you drop those comments below. For everybody who's hopping on, what's up? Good morning. David, I see you. Good morning, bro.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How's it going?
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, my man. Happy Easter. I see you're in the van life right now.
I am in the van. It's I was debating on putting the suit on, but I'm like, you know what? It's a little bit crowded back here, so I don't have enough time for that.
Hey, I was hoping I didn't set you up properly, but I was hoping I could get you in the cape. But
I mean, if you want to see how I put on the suit while I'm van lifing, I'm more than happy to do that while we're on the broadcast.
Yo, that would be dope if you're down for it, honestly. Because I was watching your video last night that was on YouTube. I'm not sure if that's your YouTube channel or if that's friend of yours, but I was just watching your story, just trying to get a feel of like who you are and where you came from, and you were actually putting on your suit during that interview. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was a great. Well, that's like the main reason why I picked a big van in the first place, so that I could be able to change around in it. It's just right now it's totally not organized because I had to leave my last contract kind of on the abrupt side. So
yeah, I saw your I don't know what it was that I saw. You were you were on live. You were on live
on TikTok.
On TikTok, sharing that story, but I came in late, so catch me up, man. What happened? How are you taking? I'm guessing it's with the whole COVID-19.
Yeah, so pretty much, I do independent contracting for railroading now, as opposed to like staying at one place, so I could travel around more, and so I get different contracts everywhere. And this contract that I had right now, it was supposed to go until the fall. It ended up getting canceled because the state is paying for our contracts here.
Right.
So I guess, the state obviously needs that money for something else that's a little bit more than paying a bunch of temps to do stuff. So they canceled the contract. So they were paying for our hotel and everything too. So we were done with that. So now it's back in the van until I figure out where I'm going to go now, which I think is going to be Philly. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. For everybody who's tuning in, this is Jonathan Belle, aka the Man of Hope, aka Superman. We're just jamming out. I'm hearing the story, and literally just going to talk storytelling and photography and whatever else he wants to talk about. But hey, Jonathan, just on the feedback, and there's a little bit of feedback coming through, like an echo.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
How is it? Is it better now?
Let me see. Just a little bit. There's an echo still.
Oh, because I don't have my. It's just through the phone, so I don't know.
Let me ask you, if you're watching, David, you might be on. Is the echo distracting, or are you guys good? Because I could deal with it on my end. I just want to make sure they can hear me. There's a little delay, man. So
oh, okay.
Where you at, state-wise?
What do I have? What?
Where are you state-wise? Say what?
I'm in Burlington.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm still in Vermont.
Gotcha.
And then I'm going to start driving down to Philadelphia probably tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Because there's some things that I still need to take photos of around here, so I'm going to do that probably today, and then start heading back down tomorrow.
Now, when you say take photos, are you doing this for like your personal brand, or are you doing this for work?
For myself. So I'm trying to figure out still how to make a living being myself, like creatively, so I don't have to like do the railroad stuff. So like I used to do railroading in Texas. I worked for Union Pacific, and I did that for 4 years, but I was like, I didn't have a life doing that at all. So I quit that job to van life around here, and then I got a job like washing dishes. I got a job like pressure washing, just a bunch of odds and ends jobs so I could do this full time.
Right.
But then I kind of got tired of doing that, and I needed some more money because you go from like having a career job to washing dishes, you still have bills, really.
Yeah.
So I signed up for a job doing railroading, but on a contracting basis, so I could still travel around and do stuff like temporarily. So the only downside, like I was supposed to be here for 5 months, like I said, but now that is canceled. Now I'm back in a van and got to figure out what I'm going to do now. So wherever I go, depending on how my savings work out, I might have to either, get a job at Target or go back to like seeing what other contracts are out there.
Gotcha. People are saying that you're still echo. You sound good, man. It's coming to my end, so I'm trying to see if there's anything I need to do on my end to address it. So give me 1 second. All right, if it gets too bad, I'll just go get some headphones. But, hey, bear with me, Facebook and YouTube. Bear with me. So talk to me, man. How did you get started with? So you said you were in Texas for a minute. That caught my attention because I'm from Texas. I'm from Houston, actually, born and raised. What part of Texas were you working at with
I
railroad?
was in Fort Worth.
Okay, so Dallas area.
Yeah, I lived in Fort Worth for 4 years. I'm originally from Los Angeles.
Yep.
So basically, my first move away from home was from Los Angeles to Fort Worth. And I just thought it was hilarious how people would be like, oh, Dallas people are all stuck up. And Dallas would be like, oh, Fort Worth are a bunch of farmers. And here I am. I'm just like, all of you guys are Texans. You all ride, because like to me, you all ride horses and have farms.
Especially being from LA, right? How'd you get into photography?
They had just had I guess they had just put In-N-Out over there, which is a huge West Coast thing.
Right.
But still, everyone's like, oh, Whataburger this, Whataburger that. I'm like, yeah, In-N-Out's way better. But I do love Taco Casa. I really do love that place.
Taco Casa. You know what? I can't say, and this might be embarrassing. I don't think I've been there.
Oh, it's really, that sweet tea there is like really, really good. But, you know, I do admit I'll miss the Whataburger fries because those are some good fries. I'll admit that.
Amazing fries. Have you had Tortilla tacos?
Have I had what?
Tortilla tacos?
Yes, actually. I like salmon a lot. So I think the first one I had there was like the Mr. Pink, which is a salmon one. That's really good. Yeah, I do like that place a lot.
Yeah.
And then like Blue Mesa. I probably went to Blue Mesa like every Sunday for brunch because I love their brunch there.
That's awesome. Hey, do me a favor, Jonathan, whenever you get a chance. You flip your phone, because I'm pretty sure the static's coming. I'm guessing that the static's coming from hitting the whatever the surface is.
Is this better?
Testing 1, 2, 3. It's actually a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably from whatever it was sitting on. Let's see if I could. How's this?
Testing 1, 2, 3. It's better. Do you hear any on my end? Do you hear any feedback on your end?
I don't hear any feedback from anybody.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go, man. I think we'll be all right. You guys will be all right, Facebook. If it gets too crazy, just let me know. But one of my things I'm curious to know is like how'd you get started with this whole Superman theme?
Well, Superman's like always been my favorite superhero, right? And so, but I never really liked the red underwear for outfit.
Yeah.
So, and then like always being into photography, somehow I wanted to try to combine everything together. And once that Man of Steel movie came out, when they showed like a very kind of modern look on the Superman suit, that's like, you know what, I could get behind that, because then if I take pictures in that thing, they could have like a sort of realism to it, and not just like, you know, red underwear kind of circusy deal. So as soon as Man of Steel came out, I was in Texas at the time, and I was like, I need to try to find somebody to make me this suit. And I couldn't find anybody to make one, so I just let it go after like 2 years of looking. But then once I decided to van life and leave, that's when I got like more serious about looking for one, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I found somebody on Etsy. This isn't it. This is like my TikTok one.
Okay.
But my real one was like $1,400 that I found. That's like custom made and everything like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the message that you have behind the suit as well. You were saying that it's not necessarily about the superpowers, but it's about the meaning behind like giving hope, like what Superman stood for. So talk on that.
Yeah. So like to me, as much as I like Superman and everything, it's always kind of been more about like it's always been more about the message that he has, like what this means, and like him as a person, like the golden rule, kind of things of that nature, you know, just kind of the whole be a better person than you can, or like always strive to be like, you know, a better version of yourself. And that's what mainly means to me to have the suit, not just like, be it's more of like his attitude about life as opposed to all of his superpowers and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Cool.
that's like one, and then also the hope as well is to like just keep striving to have how like hope is action and just things of that nature.
Yeah.
I need a minute to catch my breath from putting that thing on. I'm like,
I feel you, man.
I'm like, oh goodness, I haven't done that. I just did this yesterday, but like I kind of just getting up, and I'm like, oh, okay.
All right. So for everybody who's tuning in, I know we had some new people hop on. This is Cup of Joe, episode number 18. We're jamming with Jonathan Belle, aka the Man of Hope.
Oh, I'm in the top 20. Yeah.
You are in the top 20. So I appreciate you being on the show, man. And literally, I don't even know if you know what this is about, but I was inspired by Gary V when he started his Tea Time with Gary V, where he was basically doing like a Q&A session for his fans. And I was like, you know what? I don't really have a big audience, but what I do want to start doing is networking with people like yourself, like content creators or people who are doing like amazing things with their brands. And I know I stumbled across your TikTok account a while back, a few months ago, and I was like, man, I really love the quality of your work. And then you put out a video, and I think you might have tagged me in something as well, like kind of giving insight to how to use do a trick on Twitter. I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool, and I've been following your content ever since. So one of my main missions is just to jam out and network with you and just get a feel for who you are and give you a platform to kind of share with people what you're up to. And then at the end of the day, I know bringing people in, everybody loves the rubberneck. Like we could be having a conversation that could be interesting to people who are into visual storytelling or into photography. So that's what this is about, man. Just jam with people who I admire or I'm inspired by, and hoping that people get some value from it.
That's a pretty awesome idea. What's the can I post this link on Twitter, the one that's on my on the website right now, to see if people want to come in right now?
Yeah, for sure. So it's cool, man. I'm using this new software. It's called StreamYard. Shout out. And so I don't really have the plan that lets me broadcast to all my platforms. So right now I've been primarily testing Facebook and YouTube. But in the future, I am trying to distribute this out to LinkedIn, Twitter, or Periscope, and other platforms like that.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Because actually, somebody was telling me about like, if I should start doing that, and I'm like, eh. And then like here you are telling me about this link that Mass does everything too. So I'm like, maybe it's a sign that I should need to start doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I think
because like the other day when you saw me live on TikTok, that was the first time I ever went live on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's just like something that doesn't occur to me to do on there at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I like rarely go. And also, I think like people are really shy about asking me questions. So that's why I'm like really kind of hesitant to do it too. Because then I'm just sitting there like this. But then like as soon as I'm done, I'll get a bunch of DMs in the inbox because nobody wants to like do that live.
Right. Yeah. So, and it's funny you say that because I feel that same way when I go live on any of the platforms like Instagram and TikTok. I feel like I'm always looking for engagement, but people just like to hang out. And literally, I'll have 21 people on there just hanging out, but not really interacting. And so it blows my mind because I'm a type of person that needs to like have that engagement. And so this is a form of me being proactive about it. Like, you just go find people who I want to talk to and create a conversation out of that. And hopefully,
that's a good idea. So, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just like, so that was kind of like a little bit discouraging to do that because like I know I can make videos and have people engage in like the comment section.
Yeah, for
or
sure.
I could just like go live and like, hey, if you have any questions, just ask, and everybody's just like crickets, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, for sure. Dude, one thing that really worked for me too, not to turn this into a whole like TikTok live tutorial for anybody who's watching, but I got a Google Voice number. You heard of Google Voice, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I know Google Hangouts got canceled, right? Was that part of Google Voice?
No, Google. When did that get canceled? Because I feel like they still have something.
Well, I mean, like maybe it's not Hangouts. Do you remember Google had their like social networking thing that they kind of ended?
Oh yeah. I forget the name of it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So maybe it wasn't called Hangouts, but it was something.
I forget what it's called. If you know in the audience, please drop it because it's gonna kill me. But Google Voice is cool because you can get anyone can get a number for free.
Oh,
And what I do is I go on TikTok, I go on live, and because people aren't really engaging, I say, all right, what I'm going to do is have you text my phone number and I'll call you on this live and we'll just have a conversation. So that's how I've turned that live to be more interactive, is just by calling my audience and, either thanking them or telling them what's up. So I feel like you have a pretty good following, man. And high engagement. So I feel like people would appreciate, hearing whether you did like hey, I'm going to do a 20-minute, 30-minute, hour photography tutorial or something, right? And you can call me live and I'll answer any of your questions. Like, I think people would appreciate that.
it's a Google Voice number you can get for free.
Yeah, Google Voice. So I think it's voice.google.com. I'll share it with you after we hop off of here.
Yes, yeah, that might be something I'll look into today then.
Yeah. It's cool. But I admire what you're doing, man. I know part of that story I was watching on YouTube where you were talking about how like you made the decision to commit to, living pretty much in your van. And when you would go out and meet people, and as soon as you would say, I'm in my van, like people would turn like it'd be a turn off to people. And I
Yeah.
was in my head because I was like, people just love to judge, without really knowing someone's full story or knowing what they're about. And I admire what you're doing because I can see that happening. And I just wanted to dig into that a little bit more and just what prompted you to want to be a traveler like you are? Because honestly, like deep down inside of me, like I would love to live that life.
I really like exploring, honestly. So like, and I love like the whole storytelling thing. Um, so like when there is, when you get to an area that's like totally new and you have no idea what you're doing, you got to like figure out how to get from point A to point B. It might be like a whole different scenario and everything. And it's like this whole sense of like, well, what am I gonna do now? Like
Yeah,
I love that feeling.
yeah,
So
for
that's like something I'm always kind of chasing, like being somewhere new for the very first time is something like I love doing. So and plus I like living in different places to experience as much things as I can. And then on top of that, like trying to be on the creative spectrum, like one of my main things for like my inspiration is listening to like new music and then traveling, because with all the different like background backdrops and things and people and everything's totally different. Like here I am in Burlington now. uh Last month I was in Philadelphia. The month before that I
sure.
was in New York. And last year I spent in Montana. So like all these different little like pockets and places are good inspiration for like different types of pictures and stories and everything of that, which is like really weird now because I'm getting a really 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 major sense of deja vu
Oh
all
yeah,
the time. Yeah. and
yeah,
i think that's just and I think that's only because like there's only X amount of uh parking. I mean, there's only X amount of plazas and like and stores and roads that all look the same. I mean, that start looking the same after a while. Like we've all seen like a million main streets and like park places and McDonald's shopping centers and like Ross parking lots. And pretty soon, like we all know by now, like back in the day, if there was like a Blockbuster, there'd be a Little Caesars right next to it, pretty much.
for sure,
Or
for
like
sure.
if there's like a Ross, there's
Target
like
and
a
Chick-fil-A.
TJ Maxx
Yeah,
somewhere.
right, yeah, for sure.
So like all these little towns I'm going to, and even though if I know I've never been there before, and I look up and I see like a Ross and a TJ Maxx and like a layout that I know I've seen before in some other state, I'm just like, have I been here before? No, I couldn't have. But it all like so it's just like kind of tripping me out here. And then also like with the railroading too, because the trains all kind of look the same. You look out the window, you look at the door,
Yeah,
and I'm like looking out the window, like knowing that I've looked out this window in the exact same frame, but like in a lot of different areas. So it's kind of like tripping me out right there. I need to like write something about that too.
yeah. I'm surprised you're not like journal. Are you journaling at all?
I am. Yeah, I
Okay, cool,
do.
cool, cool, cool,
I'm
cool.
trying to actually start blogging a lot more. I mainly just use my own composition books, or like I'll digital journal, but I haven't really been, or like I'll do a lot of Instagram stories like late night when I'm drinking and like just like put everything out there, and then I'll just delete them in the morning. That's one thing I like doing, because then like all the people that look at those, they feel more special because they've seen them, and I know that, so that when I delete them, I know that they've seen them. But um, Yeah, I do journal a lot. But going back to what you're saying about how like people kind of judge you on or like give you the cold shoulder once they find out that you've been traveling. So as much as I like try not to care what other people think, the very first time that I like really felt, well, actually the first two times. So the first van that I had, it broke down.
Yeah.
I was in Seattle, and I was trying to go through this very famous scenic drive. And I start going maybe like 30 miles into it when it just opens, and I blew a head gasket in the van. And then, so I like miraculously, I was washing dishes at the time in Bellevue, Washington. Miraculously, I made it all the way back down to the area, but I had to stop, obviously, like pretty much stopped like 8 times to put water in the thing so it didn't like blow up. I found a parking structure that was right around the corner from my job, got the van in there, luckily. And I was like, before I bought a monthly membership, I wanted to go online. I looked at all the fine print to make sure like it's okay for somebody to sleep in their van here.
Right.
So I did that. The very first night, the security guard comes and knocks on the window, and he's like, "Man, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I have a monthly membership." I showed him my thing, and he's like, "You can't be in here doing this." Is like at midnight or to 2 in the morning.
Crazy.
And I'm like, "Well, yes, I can. I have a monthly membership." So he's like, "Hold on." So he calls the boss at like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
The boss is like, "Well, there's nothing that says like he can't do that, so he can." And I was like, "Oh, thank God." So I literally had to live in my van in a parking structure for a couple, like, this is all like the not fun stuff, right? Because then I was washing dishes.
What
So then
time?
I had
What
to
time was
get
this?
another
What time?
right. So then I had to get another job. What time? What?
What time was this around? Like how far ago? How far?
This was my very first summer in Seattle.
Okay.
So you imagine me getting, like, I get to Seattle in December, and this happens in May of the following year. So like I go through a whole winter and spring, and then I'm like all excited to finally go out and do stuff, and then my van breaks down. So my
Yeah.
very first summer is spent working two jobs. I'm dishwashing, and my second job I had to go. There's a Lucky Strike in Bellevue, so I went there to be a busser so I could save up money to try to to buy another car. So I finally ended up like buying $1,000 van off of Craigslist somewhere that I found.
Right.
But anyway, so when I told the security guard, like, "Hey, I'm leaving now," like 3 months later, and then he stops me and he's like, "You know what, man, like, if I didn't have kids in this job, I would totally be traveling and doing what you're doing, da 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 da." And I'm just like, yeah,
Exactly.
and that's just
Yeah.
the thing. Like, a lot of people, and this is like something else that I've learned too, because a lot of people like to, they'll put you down for stuff that they want to do themselves because they're kind of like envious. And that
Yeah.
was one of the first things that really, I mean, we all hear that saying, like, people put you down, like usually like reflecting or stuff like that. But like on this journey, that's like the first instance that somebody actually like admitted that to me, where I first was like giving me such a pushback. And then at the very end, when I left, he was just like, "Man, I would totally, do what you're doing, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, well, thanks for telling me that."
Have you heard that a lot from people?
Um, just like online, but never like in person. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So after that, because I don't really tell, as much as like I have like an online kind of presence, I don't really tell a lot of people in public all the time what I'm doing, because I don't like, I could just spend all day. Like if I'm out taking photos and I'm trying to like take pictures and people
Yeah.
are like, I still don't have it in my head yet that this is really not normal. Because to me, I mean, as funny as that sounds, like I could wear this like, a t-shirt and pants. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is like normal to me.
Right.
And it kind of gave me a wake up call one day, because like I was at a car show in Philadelphia, the one that happened this year. I went there the opening day dressed in this outfit, and I'm walking around, and somebody's like asking me a question while I'm trying to take pictures of these cars. And then I was like kind of giving these fast answers, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, you can't like," he's like, "What do you expect dressing up like that? People are not going to ask you questions." And I kind of was like, "Yeah, you have a good point there, but two, I don't owe you anything, but
Yeah.
still, you have a really good point."
Right. Hilarious,
Because
man.
I'm just like, yeah. So it's it's kind of when I'm out like dressed like this, I kind of usually either am I doing it just because I feel good that day, or I'm like trying to get photos and stuff. So it's kind of like I don't really want to um like have an hour long conversation when I'm like trying to get these shots and stuff. So I usually like just use that for stuff online. And then I also like, segue into, if you really want to know more what I do, just type in, Seattle Superman online, and then that'll tell you. Like when I left the hotel the other day or yesterday, I went out to my car to get like a suit, but I was doing a bunch of TikToks, so I was wearing this. And I went out to my van to get like my Clark Kent suit to bring back in.
Right.
And then the next day is when I had to check out. So I'm like loading up my van, and one of the um, mechanics for the hotel, the maintenance man for the hotel, was like, "Hey, were you wearing a Superman suit yesterday?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he turns to like the lady at the front desk. He's like, "See, I told you he was wearing one." And he's like, she didn't believe me. And by the time she like, and so then she even said, she's like, I like ran down the hall to see, but by then you were probably already in your room. I was like, yeah. So then when I was checking out, and she's like, so why do you wear that thing anyway?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, I kind of went into this whole like, I like Superman thing, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you know what? My name is here under the hotel room. If you type that name into Google, you'll figure everything out what I'm trying to say to you. So, if you have time, set
what
that
do
in.
people need to type in like to get your full? Obviously, you're here, so we're gonna have that conversation. But in case people aren't going to be staying this entire episode, what do people need to type in? Just Jonathan Bell or Seattle?
Yeah,
Seattle.
either one. Seattle
Okay.
Superman or Jonathan Bell.
All right, cool. That's what's
I've
up.
worked very, very hard to make myself on Google when that comes up.
Yo, so with photography, I know I have to be careful because some people are just focused on still shots and like editing. Some people are into video and photography. What are you? Are you both? Are you just focused on photography?
I'm both. I'm trying to get, and that's like what kind of goes with the whole visual storytelling thing. Like as you can tell from my Instagram and TikToks, like I'm just all over the map with stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's
I've
cool, though.
tried like
You're true creative. Yeah,
I've tried having like a grid, like a really good, perfect grid. I've tried doing things like so perfect and stuff, and I can't do it because I'm always thinking of like some way to do something different or better. And I really do like recording video. It's a challenge for me because I'm usually doing all that by myself. You know what I mean? So like, can you imagine, I mean, one, like taking pictures of myself, but two, trying to get all these creative like angles and things for video and stuff like that. I love it. So of course I'm going to be proud of it when I finish something to post. And so that's just like something, and which is funny because I'm glad I got over that before, because now with everybody with this much time on their hands, and you're seeing like all these creatives and people like starting to break their grid
yeah,
because they have nothing to post now, or they're like posting the same photos over and over again to keep their aesthetic, but they're not doing anything new because they're too scared to leave their aesthetic from their grid,
right.
which is fine, like to each
Yeah,
person their own. But I'm just saying,
sure.
like, I can't do that. Like I can't. Like I said, I've tried. I can't do it.
I think with the current state of like the internet and social media, not that I'm downplaying the grid, and I have to be careful when I say this, but I think like your personality, where you can't really like stick to a certain grid or format, like you're just going to entertain whatever creative inspiration comes to you. I think that's the perfect place to be because I feel like people who overthink it or people who try to over perfect their thing. Um, tend to it's a big crutch, I think, for a lot of people. Like it holds them back from really exploring what they're capable of. In my
Yeah. No, I hear you, and that's like, and it is a real thing because you want to post stuff for likes too, like, well, you're not post stuff for likes, but like you want to have people appreciate what you do. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like, it's kind of hard because like you put all this energy and time into something, and for people to not value it, it could be a little bit disheartening. Thanks for that, David. But also, it's just like, and see, that's, you have to be at the point where you make stuff to where if you love it yourself, it doesn't matter who else loves it. And that's kind of how I've always been, and why I'm trying to like be that kind of voice for people that have a hard time with that too. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's like another reason why, going back to the whole Superman thing, that's another big reason why I wear this suit and not like shave my beard or cut my hair. You know what I mean? Like I last year I had posted something on my Instagram, because usually like I'm all like positive stuff like that. I don't like giving a negative voice to all the trolls and stuff. I really don't.
for sure.
But I kind of felt like I was starting to lose my voice with people, because to them they're always like, well, how do I get over this, how do I get over that? And I'm just so carefree, like, oh, don't worry what people think. And I kind of got this feeling like people are like, you say that all the time, like everybody loves you on Instagram, everybody loves you, like you probably, nobody bothers you at all. So I had to like, give people this reminder, like, people don't like me in this thing at all. you know
Yeah,
and so like that day I posted pictures on Reddit, and I posted pictures on Imgur, or whatever the hell you say it. And literally, like, within, like, I don't know, 6 hours, I had all these comments like, what the fuck, your hair, and shave your beard, and you're too skinny, and Superman's not black. And I just took like all the best ones, and I posted it on my Instagram for people to see. And they're just like, oh wow, I
yeah,
didn't know that you
cool.
still have to do. I'm like, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
so for me to tell you folks, like, try not to worry what other people think, and like be yourself. It's not because I magically don't have that anymore. Like, like, people don't like to see, or not everybody, but a lot of people are just like, how they're so stuck in their canons and everything. They don't want to see it. They just don't want it. And they'll continually talk about why I shouldn't be this Superman, or why I should be like Earth 23 Superman, or why I should be Velzad, or why am I Doctor Strange when you could be, Brother Voodoo, and da 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 da. And
yeah.
everybody wants to give me their opinions on stuff. And that's why I'm just like, this is another reason why, because I want to show people like, hey, if I could do it while getting all this flack from people all the time, then I promise you could do it too. Like, it just takes a little bit of having that courage to face what other people have to say about you.
Have
And it's
you
not fun.
have you always been like that though? Have you always been? I'm not going to say you're unfazed by the criticism, but you seem pretty strong-willed and pretty focused on, hey, this is who I am. I'm gonna do my thing, and of course, people are going to say whatever they need to say about me, but it's not going to stop me from my journey. Have you always had that in you, or is that something that you learned or discovered along your life? Like,
That's I think that's something I've always had, and I could thank that to my parents, how I was raised.
yeah,
Yeah. So they kind of raised us to kind of be like not kind of care how other people treat you, and don't put people on pedestals, and this and that. And so before the Superman suit, like, I was just a geek. Like, everything that people thought was not cool to do, uh, which is of course like now cool. You know what I mean?
of course, right? Yeah,
It's like I had the skinny jeans. I used to straighten my hair when I was a kid. I listened to like My Chemical Romance and all that emo stuff. I've worn eyeliner before. Like, I've done a lot of things that I like to do to express myself way before the suit came along. And so this is just like, an extra topping on the cake thing to go out in public like this. But yeah, I've always had this like, I'm gonna be how I am kind of deal. You know what I mean?
that's awesome, man. It's inspiring, man. And that I want you to know that this conversation really, at the end of the day, is really selfish to me because I love hearing these stories because it just motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing to express myself. Does that make sense? And
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
think
it.
the byproduct of it is whoever's paying attention out there gets to hear this conversations as well. And my hope is that they're taking in the same value I'm taking in from what you're saying. So that's pretty cool, man, that you're sharing this.
No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You mentioned a couple of things I want to touch on. First of all, you said that when you travel, you love discovering new places, and I think that's cool because there's a game. First of all, I love Superman. By the way, I think the original Superman movie, which was like in '75 with Christopher Reeves, just like that was one of my favorite. I watched that so many times. But it was Christopher Reeves, right? Or no,
Yeah,
there's another Reeves as well, which was his dad, maybe.
George Reeves, but he played Superman too. Yeah,
Okay, right. Was that they're related? Obviously, I don't know.
yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I mean, I never saw this. I never saw the original Superman all the way through.
Okay, gotcha. Anyway, there's a game though, Zelda, Legend of the Temple or the Orchid or something like that. Anyway,
The
I
Ocarina of Time
yeah, man, that was one of my favorite games of all times.
for
Only
N64.
64.
Oh, did you just like go fishing all the time?
No, man, like I really would wander off. Like it just take in my mind, I just be in the game, just like trying to discover new places, and that's what that game was about to me. So that was the first thing that came in my mind when you said that.
Yeah, I love those type of games too. Those big like open world, like Banjo and Kazooie was my game.
Yeah, I
Like I
love the game
love
too.
like
Yeah,
now that I think about it, like I don't even know if that commits to like me having to go around and travel like because I loved like going to all these different places and like just exploring and doing stuff, you know. But yeah, that kind of makes sense. I love those type of games.
yeah, for sure. For sure. What's the end goal for you, man? Like I'm hearing your story. I think it's fascinating. I think it's cool. But at the end of the day, like I'm curious what when it's all said and done, which is hard to 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 really like put in a container. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Like, where, and I don't want to
Well,
say
like career wise,
yeah,
I would like to eventually somehow make money like being myself. If that's like an influencer or you know getting sponsored from like you know like if one day I became so popular from like living on the road and like traveling around that you know Mercedes gave me a Sprinter car to use, that would be great. You know, if I started doing all this cool stuff and people were noticing and Adobe's like, hey, keep using our software and we'll give you, you know, free Creative Cloud for life, that would be cool too. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's like a personalized goal of mine to like all the top brands that I have used throughout my whole life to somehow like get on their level at whatever like if they that's like a goal of mine for one. And two is just to somehow like make a living doing this, whether it be like blogs or traveling or like cosplay, photography, just like being myself. That's the end goal. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm coming up on like 2.5 years of having the suit, so we'll see how it goes. But I mean, obviously, it's like a long term game, you know.
right, for
So
sure.
which is why I like having this job in between with the railroads and stuff. But yeah, it's fun. It's a good challenge. I like it.
That's cool, man. Have you done any deals with brands already? Even if it was a small deal, like have you done anything, any projects?
Yeah, like I've done stuff with Loot Crate. They reached out to me, so they started giving me like packages for me. But I haven't done anything yet for like money. It's more
For sure. Like,
for like merchandise and stuff.
right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. There's so many people that pop in my mind that I want you to talk to that are kind of doing the same thing. I had an interview, I think it was episode number 3. It was the Reese's guy. So he's a super fan of the candy Reese's. And have you seen him? He's on TikTok.
No.
I'll send you his link. His name's Andrew, but I mean that's all he does is promote Reese's. And his ultimate goal is to he's in branding and marketing, but his ultimate goal is to be to partner with brands that are involved with Reese's. Like that's what he wants to do, and he's real creative on how he thinks about like reaching out to these companies. So I think it'll be cool for you guys to link up and just talk and see if there's any ideas that he has that could help you out with your journey as well.
You know, like honestly too, and like this is another thing that I have a problem with, or like I wouldn't say problem, but like struggling with. I'm so used to doing everything by myself
Yeah.
that it's the like I don't it's hard I don't really ever like look at what other people are doing. I don't consume a lot of content myself,
Yeah.
I guess I
Right.
should say. Or like I don't like know who a lot of people are. Not because I'm like arrogant and stuff, but too like
No, what you do, man, is work.
yeah.
It's legit work. I want to share this with you because you would appreciate what I'm saying. In 2016, I decided to pick up a camera and I fell in love with video because I was watching Casey Neistat.
Mhm.
And I just loved the way he would be able to storytell about his life and put it in this container that was just a beautiful piece of content, right? And so I really started to learn the editing process. And for a year, almost a year and a half to 2 years, I was grinding, trying to do a daily vlog and editing, right? And so I know what you do as far as like the photography and the videos and like the editing, graphic design, like that is work and time. And so it is hard to like consume content when you're so involved, like with what you're doing. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like when I take showers every day or like a bath, that is a day I'll set aside like an hour in a shower and like answer all my DMs or like reply to comments on TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that. So I like when I do like that's the time of day I'll do that. And then like but yeah, or I'll set like a time of day or like maybe once a week I'll set a couple hours to go through all of my feeds and like interact with people. But as far as like learning out who other influencers and brands are, one, I just have never had that whole like see what other people are doing kind of mentality thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is not like good nor bad. But I say all that to say like I need to get into doing that more because I realize like there's as much far as I could go by myself, but I would like to start like collaborating more and like meeting with people. And the only reason why I guess I haven't been doing that for the most part is because like working with a lot of people is frustrating.
Yeah. Hey.
And so like it always turns me off like every time like being in groups or like having to coordinate with people because I'm like I could just do all of this by myself. I don't
Yeah.
need anybody else. I'll just do it my dang self. But now it's like you're saying with this Reese's guy, if you see me in Lincoln, I look at like we all know people that do like different things, like that documentary that you were saying, that Man of Hope thing. That guy found me on Twitter and then like asked me to do that stuff.
That's dope.
And
Yeah.
so like it is great to collab and hang out with people. I just need to like I have no idea who a lot of these people are until I start having to like, people will like send people my way. And then I'm like, oh, because there are a lot of people that know what I'm trying to do that I don't know about. But
Yeah.
I just need to allow myself to research these people or figure out who they are because I'm so locked into my whole like bubble. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'll wake up, I'll try to figure out what to do. I'll try to like make TikToks. I'll try to write something. Then I got to get on Twitter and like interact with people and Instagram and stories and this, and that. It's like I don't have a lot of time to actually sit there and like research other people, which is like why something I should be trying to do was like figure out how all this stuff works by looking at other people that have done it before. You know
Right.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's like one of the things that going into this next quarter is something that I'm trying to do is like reach out and collab with people more because I'm actually, once I'll be in Philadelphia for a little bit and I don't know how long the lockdown's going to go over there, but like, and that's, this is another thing like working with groups because like when I got there last month, I like found all these like photography groups in in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I joined them, put my name out there, drew some pictures up, like, hey, I'm Jonathan. This is what I do. If anybody ever wants to like reach out, meet up and shoot and stuff, just let me know. And then you get all these like, yeah. So like for a whole week straight, every morning I would put something on there. Hey, I'm gonna go shoot. Nobody wanted to go and hang out or shoot
No,
or
it's
do
crazy.
nothing. So I'm just like, you know what? And that happens like all the time. It's all fun and games until like somebody actually has to like go do something.
Right.
So and after like doing that all the time, I gotta admit it gets like, I guess I shouldn't say discouraging because in the first place, I don't even like to do that. So for me to get discouraged, it's like I'm just proving my own point as to why I don't do
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess what it did, something really awesome did come out. Like I did have a shoot up here in Burlington because one of the people that actually like wanted to photograph me moved to Vermont. And he's just like, oh, you're in Vermont now. We should like, so we met up and shot. So like one person, and these pictures came out like really good. In fact, so good that one of them got featured from like Adobe Creative Cloud. And all that came out of like me researching the photography groups there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I still need to like do that. It just gets annoying sometimes.
Yeah, man, you're in a unique situation, and this is just one man's opinion. But I'm just looking at your. I think this is what's cool about this too, right? Because I love the network, so I'm already hearing your story, and I'm thinking about okay, who would be cool to like introduce you to or introduce them to you, right? And I think honestly, at the end of the day, and I learned this from Casey and like Gary Vee, is like you want to put out the best stuff that you can put out, and the people will find you. Like I found you, bro. Like I found you through my For You page, and I realized that you were talented, and I was like, damn. I just want to at least get to know him. You know, who knows where this relationship could lead, but I at least just want to interact with you, and that's from the content you're putting out. So I think, like, cool. Like, I would continue to focus on like staying focused on what you're doing. But what I think will be real cool, because you're so like, you have a micro niche of like the Superman character, right? Is there's a lot of people out there who have audiences that are really into Superman, and that's who I would be networking with, because at the end of the day, I think the brands are going to find you based on your audience, which sounds weird, me saying that out loud, but it's true. Like, the reason they're paying people like yourself for influencers because they want to get their message in front of the audience that cares about the thing that they're trying to sell. And so I feel like you collabing with people with those audiences and you guys networking will help not only promote your audience, but people will start to realize, like, discover who you are through those collaborations. So I don't know if that's making any sense. I guess to summarize it, I feel like it would be cool to, like, for you to network and collab with photographers and other videographers, but it would be even cooler if you collab with people who have that brand, that Superman stuff. Whether it's a coffee dude that just loves the Superman mug and you guys do a video together, or someone who's really into a video that is a super fan of Superman, right? Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you really are.
I can see that with you because I just felt like I wanted to encourage you to stay like focused on what you're doing, because I feel like that's literally what's going to be your leverage at the end of the day.
No, well, thank you. Yeah, it's just like, so like, and here's an example. So when I met up with that guy in Burlington to do the shoots, he's like, "Hey, a couple of my friends saw you. Like, did you go into a Starbucks when you were taking pictures in Philadelphia? And there are a couple photographers." And I'm like, "Yeah, I did. I went in there for a little bit to like check all my pictures, make sure I, took them right and everything. And I specifically noticed two men in there with their cameras, and they were just kind of looking at me." He's like, "Yeah, they know who you are from like Facebook and stuff in the group." And I'm like, I was in that Starbucks for like half an hour, and they're just sitting there looking like, can't come up and say hi, can't like, "Hey, do you want to shoot?" And I'm like, and I don't know. it drives me nuts, man.
That's crazy.
It's like, why? I don't understand it, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, to each, like, and I guess that's easy for me to say, right? I'm on a phone with you dressed in the Superman suit with no like care in the world. So I still can't relate to how it is to be like timidly ask somebody to do something. You know what I mean? I guess I have to like put myself in that mindset, I guess.
Yeah, like, try to find some empathy for it, but it is crazy, man. And I can talk from both sides. I was that person, and I think it's just I don't know. It's funny though. Like, now that I'm on the other side of it and I'm not scared to ask anybody for anything, I just think it blows my mind how people really, the conversations that go on in their head about, oh, I can't, like, it's not allowed to ask that question to a stranger or something like it. But it is fascinating sometimes. But like you said, to each their own, and yeah, I can go down that rabbit hole too. But
yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah. Are you doing so what was your platform before TikTok?
Instagram mainly.
Okay.
And that's another thing that I'm starting to like. I had to come to this realization. Like, so back in the day, like, 2015, 16, when all the wanderlust travel photography was like super popular, and like people were showing off the coast all the time, and like Alaska views and all that. Like, remember that shit when that's like all what was on Instagram?
Yeah, for sure.
So that was around the time that I decided to do this whole Superman thing, right? So that's what gave me the idea to go to Seattle. I'm like, I need to get a really top-notch suit and go to these scenic places where everybody's taking photos and stuff, and take photos in all of these environments, because I knew they would be a hit. So before I even got my suit, I literally got on Instagram and looked at every single person that cosplayed Superman, like everybody. Yeah. I looked at all the photos on there. I like looked to see like how I'm gonna make myself stand out, and I'm like, not a lot of people do levitation shots. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
None of these people are like in natural environments. They're all like in a studio, or they're like clearly photoshopped in some like scene, what I mean? Like stuff like nobody's doing this stuff like and this was like a lot of cosplayers in general. Like, a lot of people weren't just like going out and doing this stuff. So I'm like,
Right.
I'm totally going to like, I'm gonna show up and be like, this is me in your face. I know I'm good. Da 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 da. Right. And so that's how that started. But so then I only stuck to really Instagram. I started doing YouTube, and like, this is like the hindsight thing. And I just made a podcast where I like talk about all this stuff about like a hindsight of starting this brand. Is like,
what's your podcast name?
The Jonathan Belle Show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But like, so in a nutshell, pretty much like I would spend so much time searching hashtags, looking up people to tag in my Instagram posts, all this stuff, to make sure that I did everything to the max with Instagram. But then as soon as it came to like my Facebook page or YouTube or anything else, I would just throw it up there and not give a shit, you know, or like blogs. And that's one of the things, like another thing that going into this year forward, like to expand who I am. And people always tell me like, you should like do blogs and write. I'm like, I do write. I do a lot of stuff. But then I think about it, and I like the other day, one of my goals was to like go through all my blogs and like completely do all the SEO stuff.
Yeah.
Because like I literally went through every single one of my blogs that I put up, which weren't even like really blogs. They were just like whatever random thought I had that I threw up there just to keep the SEO going from my website. With like, I didn't do any like SEO stuff, like nothing, no keywords, no nothing, anything. I just like, and I was like, I need to change that for one, because now like, starting to look at all these analytics of like how people find me and everything, because I don't ever like do that important stuff. Like,
Exactly.
you know, there's like the creative side and there's the technical side, and they all have to coincide, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to be more aware of. And also, like, I just finished this also because I had the whole goal last week. I did this with my YouTube. I went through a point where, like, in the last contract I had, I was in Montana, and I love beer. So I like made a whole, probably like close to 100 episodes of like 1 minute episodes or so where I would drink beer and like just review it.
That's dope.
And, like, you know,
yeah.
But I was so concentrated on like editing and Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
Like literally I would make these YouTube episodes and throw them up on YouTube with like barely any keywords, no hashtags. And so like last week when I went through the whole YouTube to put all this stuff in, which took me like 4 days because it was like almost 200 videos, you know.
Right.
And that, but also something that I've been putting off for probably half a year that I finally just did. And I'm looking at all these videos, seeing like how they all have like 3 views, 4 views, and I'm getting mad at myself. Like, man, nobody's watching my stuff. And then I'm like going into the SEO part of the YouTube, and I'm like, I'm not even tagging the breweries. I'm not even putting the name in the hashtags. Like, I literally would just put the video up and like leave it alone. And so that's like one of the biggest things that I just had to learn was like, everybody has their Instagram. Like for me, my Instagram was Instagram. To some people, their Instagram is like their blog or their Facebook, you know?
Right.
And for me to just like callously throw everything else away when I had the time, like I had the time to like sit there and like make a whole list of hashtags for YouTube. I had the time to like write out a description, but I thought I didn't, and I clearly did. So that's another thing that I've had to learn from this year is like, to take the time to do it right. I mean, there's like being a perfectionist, which I could understand, or like the whole like I need to do it right or I can't do it at all. We all know that type of mentality is like kind of stalling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's also like if you're drinking a sour beer from this company in Pennsylvania and you don't put sour beer from this company in Pennsylvania, how is anybody going to know where to find it? You know what I mean? So, and that was just me being lazy on my part. And it's just like hoping people find my video. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's just like, and that's like something I'm learning every day. And that's just me. Like, I'm pretty sure if I were to go and look at all these people's blogs that brand build and like go on LinkedIn and look at people's stuff, you know, I probably would have done this a long time ago. But like I said, like I have a bad habit, or not a bad habit, but like I generally don't look at what all this other stuff. So it's still me figuring everything out.
Yeah. And I relate to that too, because I remember, and obviously you've been doing this longer than I have, but when I really got into editing videos, it got to a point where I used all my energy on the creative side to like make this thing that I thought was beautiful and I was proud of. to where when it got time to upload it onto YouTube, I was like, man, just give me a title. I don't even care what the title says. I don't care what the hashtags are. I just want to get it out. I'm done, you know? And yeah, it gets interesting, man, because it's about energy, like committing that last effort to getting the little pieces done. So I get it.
Yeah. And that could be the hardest thing sometimes, which I know for me it was. But only not on like Instagram, you know, because I knew like that was going to be my ticket. But now going into more and more of like getting more into everything else, I have to use that effort into everything else that I'm doing.
Well, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about how you felt when you got on TikTok, because TikTok's a completely different beast when it comes to in regards to organic reach. Because you're right, on YouTube, you have to kind of rely on the title and the thumbnail and the hashtags. On TikTok, it's almost like you can slap something up there and you end up on people's For You page. So what are your thoughts on that?
So when I first started TikTok last August, I was like, well, okay. So first of all, I've had like a Musical.ly and didn't use it.
Okay.
And then I downloaded TikTok and didn't use it because like all the music that I like, I don't listen to like I listen to new music, but new music that I like with like, you know, thanks to Spotify, you know, it suggests you what you think. But all this like new hip hop rap stuff, I'm like, I don't want to listen to this, you know, like all this stuff that you know goes into like Musical.ly and TikTok. I'm like,
the trending stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to listen to this crap. So like I never really got into it. And then I was like, you know what? I made one last August. I didn't say anything on Instagram or YouTube or not. I just like it was like a goal or a challenge to me to see how much I could like get my name out there on TikTok organically without anybody else knowing that I'm on there. Because I didn't want like, you know, people on Instagram or Twitter to be like, oh, you're on TikTok now. So now like a majority of people on TikTok that follow me are people that I've only met specifically through TikTok. It's just funny because these people are just looking at me on my suit. Just
That's hilarious. You have to get
they're just like looking in the van, like, okay.
And it's funny, right? Because they're walking at a normal pace, and all of a sudden you can tell like they're slowing down to like really see what's going on. And I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so I was able to kind of like start on there. Like one person, my whole demographic on TikTok is just totally different. But like, so the very first person to ever like duet something that I did, I guess I should go into the whole process with that. So basically, I was like, what am I gonna do to all these like songs? I had to like make myself like look at all the trending stuff. It was like a whole process. I think like every day for the first like 2 months from last August until like October or so, I tried to put out at least like one video every day. And then like when I couldn't think of anything to do, I pulled out my hard drive and all of my like I put out my hard drive, went through all my stories to find out like what little snippets of like behind the scenes stuff I could do.
That's cool.
And that's when I started doing like behind the scenes stuff. And like my very first like kind of big video is just pretty much like me doing like levitation shots. And I had my phone set up to like show me like taking my own photos, you know, and then that kind of one. So then I kind of started doing more like behind the scenes stuff on that.
Right.
And then from there, I kind of like, then I figured out actually how to like stop the music to like the songs and stuff. Cause I had no idea how to do any of that stuff. So then I started doing that more. And then like the creativity fuel came up like 2 months ago when I was trying to, 2 or 3 months ago, when I was trying to figure out like how to still do something consistently every day if I wasn't like in cosplay or something. So I'm like, and that's another goal for me too, because I'm like, I actually looked at the hashtag creativity fuel on TikTok and noticed like nobody had it. Like it had 0 views at all. So I'm like, I'm going to use this to try to see if I can make that my own. And I'm going to put every day something that I've kind of learned about being creative, you know? And so that was a goal for that. And some of them are, you know, go pretty big, some of them don't, but at the end of the day, it's just like I want people to realize that if they have questions to ask me stuff, then they could ask, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I think it's David. David's pulled up your account and on TikTok, and David I actually met via TikTok, and just announced your likes on TikTok. So, yo, David, he's dope. I don't know if you paid attention to any of his content, but really, really high quality stuff.
Oh, thanks, David. Yeah, and that was a surprise for me too. So that was like, but like, and I'm kind of proud of myself for that. But also, I'm like, yeah, it's just it's just funny how people are, because like I know creatives and people in general, they don't like to admit when they see things because they want to do it themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's like the yeah, it's just it gets on my nerves a lot sometimes too.
Yeah.
Because it's like people see what I'm doing, obviously, but they don't ever want to admit it. And like on Instagram too, that's a whole nother thing, because I could see all the bookmarks, all the shares on it. But when it comes to like the likes and the comments, it's like crickets,
Yeah.
So for somebody that's really not has a huge following, I could just imagine how annoyed it must be for like the really popular creators that do all this stuff, that were like, man, I have like 1 million followers and nobody's liking my stuff, but like they could clearly see. So that's another thing like I'm trying to learn now too, is to like squash this kind of annoyedness now, because I know like when I climb up higher, it's only going to get worse. So I better just start trying to nip it in the bud now,
Right. That makes sense, man. It makes sense. Let me see what from my Raising Fitness account. Yeah, David. He's saying he's following you. So what's cool about this, John, is that this is all. I'm gonna send you this full clip for you to do whatever you need to do with it. But also, I'm planning on partnering up with an editor, and we're gonna break these clips down into just pieces where we thought will be most valuable, and then you can use this to promote yourself as well. So I'll let you know. I haven't even touched episode 1 yet, just because I've been trying to get in my groove with this show. But as soon as I do, man, I'll definitely send these videos to you so you can use it to promote yourself and your story, because I think it's cool what you've been sharing so far.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that'll be nice. So in the spirit of that, then let's I don't know how much more time you have, or if there's any other questions you want to ask me and stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So like
so really what's on my mind is, because I know that you have a lot of value to offer. Obviously, we don't have to get into too much depth because of time, but like for someone who is an aspiring artist, whether it's photography or videography, kind of share some insights on what that journey is like as far as getting to the level of work that you're putting out. Because you're putting out, I'm surprised you haven't worked with more brands, man. Like you're doing stuff that I don't know if you know Babin. Do you know Babin? He's a creator. I'm gonna share these with you. They're doing like, you're on that level, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm surprised that you haven't collaborated with more brands. But for someone who is aspiring to do this full time, or aspiring to be an influencer of some type, like what advice would you have as far as the journey that you've been taking so far?
Well, I guess in that aspect, like I should be reaching out to more people, but I guess for people that want to start getting into it would be to like not be afraid to develop what they like. It's easy to get caught up in like what's trending and what's popular, and of course like looking at all these different things and trying to make something your own is one thing, but like if you like portrait photography and you see the only like cool stuff that's trending right now and you don't want to put out your own stuff, that's only going to eat you up inside if you don't do it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I couldn't stick to like a perfect grid either, is because like if I guess I could call it like betraying your feelings, like we all have that stuff that we want to do, that we're proud of, but we also have this little fear of like how it's going to be received, because we don't really know how it's going to be received.
Yeah.
And I guess like the biggest thing would be to be patient enough to find your audience with it, is what I would say. Because when I first put the suit on, like I went from like doing all these creative portraits and playing with like fire and doing like fire photography and stuff, and then all of a sudden one day I'm in a picture with this, and that's all it was from then on out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like I lost a lot of followers from that too, that were like portrait page was really popular on Instagram back in the day, and I got actually like featured on portrait page for one of my photos that I did.
That's awesome.
on Instagram. Well, thank you. But like, so I had a lot of like people follow me from like all my creative stuff and like props and things I did. And then like all of a sudden, like, why is he wearing a Superman suit doing this stuff? That's dumb. And like, I lost a bunch of followers, you know,
Yeah.
but I also have gained a bunch of people or like have tuned in doing the stuff that I really want to do. And now I'm circling back around. Like you could tell that I'm starting to branch out more from just the Superman stuff to being like fully encompassing who I am. So I guess like my advice is to just start doing. I mean, it's easy to say like just start and like don't care what people think, because you're always gonna have that little bit of like don't care. Caring. But if you want to be a photographer just for likes, then that's not a good route to go, because I have met so many people that wanted to start Instagram just to be popular on Instagram,
right,
and have just like, you know, I wouldn't say given up, because it wasn't even something they've started. It was just like to try to be popular. Like they see all these photographers, like, you know, like when it was cool to do all these creative portraits and take pictures of girls with like the lights and everything. I was like, I want to get a camera and do that. And then they realized like they were just competing for likes and for follows and popularity on Instagram, that a lot of these people I knew back in the day, like they don't do it anymore.
That's crazy.
Because they did it not because that they loved it. They just did it to have that type of attention. So I guess the first thing would be like, do you want to be a photographer because you want to be popular online, or because you really love putting out what you want to put out? And I guess that goes to earlier in this episode when you were saying like how we were talking about like does it matter if how well I think it's received or not? Because I love what I'm putting out, and I know that like if I love it enough, even if it's one person or like 1,000 people, somebody's going to see this and agree with what I did.
Right.
And so if you're proud of the work that you put out, regardless, and it's something that you really truly have a fire for to do, then you should do it without feeling like you need to have different reception with it. You know what I mean?
100%. I love that advice. Back in my YouTube days, and I'm still planning on doing more vlogs. To be honest with you, I've been putting my focus more on growing some of the brands I'm working with. But throughout that phase, I knew why I was creating the content, and whether it impacted one person or 10 people, like it was cool that I was able to touch those people. But the main thing that was a priority for me was that I knew what I was doing, and I was happy with what I was doing. And it was funny because I had friends that would come up to me because they saw me doing it every day. They'll see my views be like 3 views or 4 views. They'd be like, dude, you need to do stuff more like, I just had this conversation yesterday too, but they'd be like, you need to do something more entertaining. Like you need to do something that people want to watch. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it for those reasons. Like, I'm not doing the stuff I'm doing. I'm not doing necessarily to become famous. I'm doing it because like that's who I am. Like that's how I express myself. And I just feel like it's easier to live life when you're naturally being who you are than pandering to a system because you're trying to get fame. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I made a video on TikTok and I got bashed by all the kids because I don't know. I know you don't follow a lot of people, but Jaliyah, she's the girl that made the Renegade dance on TikTok kind of famous.
Uh-huh.
And I made a video saying that her goal wasn't to become famous. Like her goal, she's passionate about dancing, and everybody was like, no, her goal was to become famous. She had it in her bio. But what people are forgetting to realize is that cool, like, yeah, she said it, she's young, but she really loves dancing, which is why people like really got into her dance, because the choreography was on point. And to your point of what you're sharing is like, for sure, anybody who is aspiring to do photography or any kind of art, I love that you said make sure that you're focusing in on for the right reasons, like because you love to do the things that you do, not because you're trying to get some kind of fame or do it for the likes.
And like with this levitation stuff, and be like, oh, you're so good, like people don't realize I have been using Photoshop since like damn near 99 2000. Like back, like now it's on Photoshop 2020, but I was using Photoshop when it was like Photoshop 7, like way back in the day. And there are people that have been using it when it was Photoshop 3. And like how I taught myself Photoshop was I would go to Borders or Barnes and Noble with a composition book and go look at tutorials from all these magazines and write
back before they were like, you know, camera phones and stuff. And I didn't have any money to buy fucking magazines. I would go write tutorials down in my book and take them back to my computer at home to try to work with, you know, my levitation photography. I've only been doing photography for 10 years, which is a lot shorter than a lot of people. But like the first year that I bought my camera in 2010, I literally made myself take a picture every single day for the whole of 2010, at least one picture, so I could pick up my camera and become familiar with what I was using.
That's awesome, man.
Back in 2011 is when I first started doing like self-portrait levitation photos. And it just cracks me up like, oh, how did you always look so perfect when you take these floating pictures? And like, and I'll tell people like, yeah, I could do, like, how many times does it take you to do that? I'm like, oh, probably like 2 or 3 tries. And they're like, yeah, right. I'm like, yeah, it takes me 2 or 3 tries now because I've been doing this since like 2011. You know what I mean? So it's, people don't understand. And I'm sure with this girl you're talking about too, like she's probably been dancing her whole life, and now people just want to like bash her because she's famous now. People don't understand, like, it's easy for people to say, oh, you're just popular now, you know, blah blah blah, but they don't see the actual work in it. And that's another thing, like, if you really, and I'm getting on my high horse right now too,
I like it.
Well, it's just, and a lot of my videos on TikTok, I'll ask people, like, people are like, oh, if you have, you know, advice, or like ask me questions. And so obviously people have been DMing me stuff like, oh, what's your and so I'll tell people this stuff, and then I'll flag everything on Instagram or TikTok. I'll circle back around like a week later. So, hey, did you try what I told you? Well, no, I didn't have enough. I'm like, okay, you know, like you know what I mean? Like, so you gotta.
Yes, I heard you know.
It's like, and it's like, it's all fun and games until you actually gotta actually do the work, you know. And it's like, am I good at what I do? Yeah, like I would like to think I could edit a photo and like take great levitation shots, but that's because I literally do it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to set my camera down, and I know how to jump and what to jump and how to look relaxed, and I know how to edit and use Photoshop because I've been using it for a very long time. This isn't something like, you know, and if you want to get to that point, it just takes a little bit of a lot of work. I mean, some people are just natural at things, which is great. And like, but the point is you got to just practice.
Absolutely. I played basketball for majority of my life. It's a story that I tell all the time. What's cool about my story is that I wasn't that talented at all. I was able to play on the college levels, but all that I really had was just, you know, my work ethic and my belief and my passion in the game. And so you're right. There are people that are talented, but at the end of the day, talent can only take you so far, you know. And I think it's the drive and the willingness that, like David said, the whole cliche 10,000 hours equals like pro level, like, but that's real. And I think everybody sees, you know, especially with social media these days, everybody sees like, you know, the finished product of your photography, but they forget that you've been like grinding. You know, you went to Borders every single day, and you're gonna take a picture every single day, and people don't realize like that's some work, like that's time and effort put into a skill set that now people are starting to appreciate. And I love everything you're saying. Like, that's a high horse I get on all the time, because now that I'm starting to like grow on TikTok, you know, people are starting to reach out to me and saying, hey, can you duet this, or can you give me a shout out? And I'll do the exact same thing you do. I will flag some stuff and go back to their pages. And what do I see? I see people who have 50 followers or 100 followers, and people are leaving comments on content that they're making. And they're not even like trying like to put in the effort to like respond to these people, but they're looking for more followers. I'm like, y'all are blowing my mind. Like, what do you want followers for then at the end of the day? To look cool? Like, I don't understand. So
yeah. It's something else, but yeah, I don't know. And like, yeah, it's the thing, like but I'm like, and they were like, I wanted to start this whole TikTok journey with like 3 people. And like, when I first started, I had some people like on Instagram, like, oh, hey, we're going to do this and we're just going to test it out and see. No, that's for kids. No, I shouldn't do this. No, I don't want to. Like, that was August of last year. Right. So now I just hit like a million views or likes the other day. And I'm just like thinking like, this could have been like this could have been all of us. You know what I mean? But no,
Man, dude.
but you know what I mean? And so it's like, and I think that's why I have this whole like lonely road, do it on my own, not collaborate with people, because it's been
Hard to run.
frustrating. Like
Yeah.
starting this whole thing out for like when I left, there have been a lot of people that have like come and gone with like, oh, you know, we should hold each other accountable. We should do this. We should do that. And they all leave because it's hard. You know what I mean? But like but also like I'm over 30 too. So like a lot of people that for me, that was like my, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I want to do what I want to do. And I don't know if enough people have found that yet, or like if there's like their trend or their, and this is something that like I should have started doing a long time ago that I finally, you know, started in 2016. So for me, it's like, I don't want to go back to that. You know what I mean? Like I know how that's been.
Yeah.
And even though like I'm doing it now independently, like on little contracts, I still don't like it. I'm still like, man. But I got out of debt. I did like last year when I was in Montana, I didn't even want to take this job. Like I did not at all. But I was like, I was fed up with washing dishes. I wanted to get another laptop because mine was starting to get bogged down. I wanted to get a new camera. Like I need to somehow like make some money, get out of debt, because I owed the IRS. It's like when I worked at the railroad, I made over $100,000 my first year.
Wow. Yeah.
But I literally didn't have a life at all. Like I think like my most time I worked in a row was probably like 23 or 24 days in a row. But you think about all the 21, 20, 18, 19 days in a row. You know what I mean? So, and the only reason why I quit that, because I almost got in a car accident. And
I saw that story. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
so that was why I stopped. And but anyway, so all the bills, all the stuff I still had it. But the only reason why I decided to do that whole like washing dishes is because I wanted to still hold myself accountable to this lifestyle and go into like I knew if I got a job washing dishes, I could be on my phone all the time. Like I knew they wouldn't care if I was like back there washing dishes on my phone to like, you know, still interact. So that's why I did that. And then I started like pressure washing to try to make more money so I could like buy some other stuff. And I'm like, I think I just need to like figure out something to do to where I could still travel. So one day I went to the library because of the internet and I fully redid my resume. I uploaded it, and not even a day later, this company called me and like, hey, we have a contract for you railroading in Montana. And it's going to be for a year. And it was like in a tiny little town of like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't want to do that. You know, like that's going to be like, I'm building up all this momentum in Seattle. If I leave this now, I'm going to go over there, like to the middle of nowhere. And so I talking with my family about it, like, well, I think you should probably do it. You know, it's good money. Like it was really good money. And they were paying for my hotel for a year. So like, I didn't even have to pay rent too.
That's awesome.
So it's like, you know what? So I pretty much made myself do that. It turns out the contract ended up being for a year and a half. But anyway, so in that whole year and a half when I was there, that's when I started like the other podcasts. That's when I trended on Twitter from like I had a Twitter moment from doing that.
That's awesome.
I bought a lot more cosplays. I got out of debt. I bought this new van. I paid all my credit cards off. Bought a new computer, a new camera, some like all this stuff because I was literally out and worked and concentrated on this stuff for the whole year and a half. So that contract was over in December of last year. 2020 starts. I go to New York for a month and I go to Philadelphia for a month. And then they're like, I'm starting to build up a little bit of momentum in Philadelphia from like going to the Love Park. I'm taking some stuff. I'm like, you know, trying to infiltrate all these like photography groups there. And then the company calls and they're like, hey, we have a contract in Vermont. That's going to be for like 5 months if you want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like if I do this now, I already paid all my debt off and everything. So now if I do it, all that money that went through bills and debt and buying new toys, I'll just have for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll do it. So then, you know, I left Philadelphia to come to Burlington. And after I came here the third week of February and now the second week of April for March. So for like
I don't know, what is that, 2 months now, 2.5 months I've been here, and now the contract's over. So now it's like I'm gonna go back to where I was staying in Philadelphia, and probably just quarantine a whole bunch of TikToks and stuff until like I could go out and do things.
Yeah.
So like, or like I probably like, who am I kidding? I'm probably still gonna go into the city and like photograph myself, since now like there won't be a lot of people out and about, and I'm sure now. But see, like that's another thing too. Like I don't want to send that message to like, hey, I'm gonna go out and do all this stuff when we really should be staying home. But like, so that's something I have to like think about.
Yeah, for
Do
sure.
I selfishly want to do that? Yes.
Absolutely.
Should I do this? Because I know that would be like encouraging everybody that's like creative to go do stuff out in like desolate areas, So that's the whole like, do I or don't I? Because like in Vermont now, I'm literally 2.5, 3 hours away from Boston. I want to go drive to Boston and like van life it over there for a weekend and take pictures throughout the city. But at the same time, do I really want to do that in a really high congested area where this is going around?
For
You
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like, be smart or don't be smart and use my creativity like what I want to do all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. Man, it's so fascinating, man. Like your journey, and for anybody who's watching this, in the post or live or with the clip, like what I'm fascinated by is that while your story, and no disrespect to you, like obviously I feel like we're vibing here, so don't take disrespect for what I'm saying, but while it's not like the most glamorous, I feel like you're happy. Like you're happy that you're on the path to becoming even more happier. And I think there's a difference between like frustration of like life getting in the way versus like just sheer, this sucks. Like life sucks right now because I'm not doing what I want to do. And I feel like you're on the path of, no, I absolutely love this journey because I'm getting closer to what I want to be doing full time. That's what I'm hearing from you. So I think and that's where
that's it. I mean, like, did I have fun loading up everything in and out of hotels all the time? No, I don't. But at the end of the day, it's like that's like an inconvenience as opposed to hating my life. You know what I mean? Two totally different things.
Right. And I try to be sensitive with having these conversations because this is a conversation I have all the time. But, I'm trying to become a little bit more sensitive, especially around these times with the, social distancing and COVID-19, about people really trying to focus on like getting themselves on the path to becoming happy. Like, not saying like you have to like stop what you're doing overnight and just literally just get on that path, but like at least start conditioning your mind to say, look, I am going to start doing one thing a day to get myself closer to doing the thing that I love, whether it's photography or videography, whatever your passion is. That's really what I'm trying to push people because, I had my show yesterday had a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, big in the mental health conversation. And we were just going back and forth jamming on like the state of our world right now really is vulnerable to like a mental health crisis, right? And I think a lot of it comes from just people just not being happy or afraid or things of that nature. And that's where I want to be sensitive to it. But I think having more of these conversations should, in my opinion, and in my hope, like inspire people to really start to think about like, what is it that makes me happy and how can I get on that path? So, yeah.
I think a lot of it, like what we're going through now as a whole world, I think like, well, it'll be interesting when we come out of this and see, because there's like a lot of people's what they thought was what was gonna make them happy. A lot of people are realizing now like that wasn't it. Like a lot of people are discovering a lot about themselves when they have all this time in isolation and like in their own thoughts, and like everything that they thought was important, how easy it could be to not have it anymore. You know what I mean? So like it's going to be interesting for sure to see what we as a society do when we come out of this. Like, are we going to go back to how it was? Are we going to go forward? Or is everybody that was like so pumped up to do something new gonna, like, is that whole gonna dissipate and fade? You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, but that, like I say, the whole motivation industry is a good industry for that reason.
right? It's like the perfect time for it. But I try to be mindful of that too, because I don't want to come across like a lot of my content, man, is like inspirational positivity and all that, only because I know that's literally who I am. You know what I mean? But I have to be careful of that because I don't want to come across as like rah rah cheery. I want to be practical. Like this is a practical motivational conversation to me. Like hearing a real story about someone who is on the path of becoming, you know, the most happy they can be. I think that's and your journey has been super like raw and practical versus like someone saying, you know, get up one night, read a book, and you know, just say these affirmations in the mirror, and your life is going to change one day. You know what I mean? That's where there's a fine line between those kind of conversations. So, damn man, I could talk all day with you about certain things. What I do want to tell you is that I'm in love with this. Like people don't understand. Like this is what I love. I love interacting with people who are passionate, people who are doing amazing things out in the world. And what I want to tell you is that I'm not stopping this. So you're on my mind, man, because I know what you want to do. And I'm going to be just thinking about like who I can connect you with to get you close to your goal. And I want you to know, like, I think it's going to be real cool, especially when I get more efficient with clipping these to see what happens with your growth, because you're already doing the right things. Like when you're like being a mover on TikTok right now and doing what you're doing has been real revealing to me that you're on the right path. And I just know it's just a matter of time before like you really pop off.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, man. So I always get my audience, my guests, to ask my audience a question of the day, like something you want to learn about people, or be selfish with it, man. Just ask them a question of the day, and then we'll hop off. David actually told me, he's in the comments right now. He told me to tell you that he just subscribed to your podcast, and he's gonna check it out.
Oh, well, thanks, David. I appreciate that. So, like, yeah, the Jonathan Bell Show, pretty much that's all pretty much how I've been kind of building this up till now. And then I have interviews with like other creators and stuff on there, but that's pretty much like my brand building podcast of like how I started, what I'm doing, like all the little analytics of everything, like what I want to try next, what I've done before. That's pretty much what that show is about. So that way, like, you know, in a couple of years from now, when I look for people to look at how I started, it'll all be there of like how I started this thing out in the first place.
That's what's up, man. That's cool. That's cool. So I'm gonna give you a chance, man. Ask the question of the day.
Question of the day is,
And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell everybody. Number one, Facebook, YouTube. I appreciate everybody who's taking the time to check us out. Whether it was just for 1 second, like just the fact that you clicked the button to find out what was going on means the world to me. Also, go check out Jonathan Bell. I have a banner here that has his. Are you Jonathan Bell on all platforms?
Yep.
Okay, so check out my man Jonathan Bell. When I tell you guys to go check someone out, I mean it. Like I'm not just. He's not paying me right now to tell him to go check him out. Like I'm saying go check him out because the stuff he's putting out is awesome and inspiring. And plus, you should really like check out his story. It's one that is full of inspiration. So, yep, the banner's on there. And Jonathan, whenever you're ready, man.
All right. So my question would be, would you rather fly or have the ability to be invisible?
Anyway, yo, I don't either. I thought your phone died. Yeah.
No. So my question is, like, would you rather fly or have the ability to be invisible whenever you wanted to?
Let me take a stab at that. Would I rather fly or be invincible whenever I wanted?
No, invisible.
Invisible. Oh man. That's crazy. That's a crazy question. I'm leaning towards being invisible. I'm guessing yours is fly.
Yeah.
Why?
The whole travel aspect and like photography and like if I could fly, can you imagine how many cool pictures and stuff I could take.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, from that for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a cool question. So, question of the day: would you rather fly or be invisible whenever you wanted to? Asked by Jonathan Bell. Jonathan, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll definitely send you those links after I hop off, and let's just keep. I'll keep following your content, and let's stay in touch, man.
Yeah, for real. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Facebook, YouTube. Love you guys. See you tomorrow morning. Cool, bro.